Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome. My name is Peg Gould, and I am the Assistant Director of Community Education and Training at Mercer County Community College in Trenton, New Jersey. I am today's moderator. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to our first annual Virtual Road Conference. We have a full agenda today, and although we still learn and grow, our sessions today are engaging, innovative, and motivational. We'll share with you today some of our favorite practices and approaches that have worked for the students. And that's really what it's all about, isn't it? The students. We're coming to you with some help, some new ideas, some creative ways of keeping it interesting. If you're lucky, maybe even inspired. A few housekeeping reminders. Please keep your microphones on mute. Keep your internet cameras off. Post any questions that you have in the chat. We'll answer them as much as we can at the end of each session. Today is being recorded, so by joining us, you give your consent to be part of the recording. To kick things off this morning, we have an outstanding keynote speaker, incredibly awesome, and has performed in over 63 states. The master of motivation, Mr. Robert Breitbart from Burlington English. Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't know if that's a reference to what we think of our educational statistics here in Florida. We're 47th, but of course we do think that's out of 100. But thank you, Peg. To everyone, thank you so much, Peg. That was a wonderful, wonderful introduction. I've had the joy of knowing Peg just a short time, but I know your passion, your energy, your dedication to the students. I know when this is my 30th year in adult education. 30 years ago, I stepped into a portable classroom down here in Southwest Florida, a little migrant farm working town, and taught pre-literate ESL all the way up to GED in one room schoolhouse. And so, but admittedly, I want to share with you, I am a recovering administrator. And I just want to tell you, I was at my best as an administrator when those who I were able to support, when they were fantastic. So I know that Peg is only as fantastic as she is because of all of you at Mercer County. I think it's just totally amazing to be here with you all during this day. So I'd like to say thanks to Peg. I'd like to definitely say thanks to all of you for being here. And I'd also like to give a big shout out, because the only reason I'm really connected with Peg and with you all is through my wonderful, wonderful Burlington colleagues. So thank you to Barry, and thank you to Rebecca. You all are just wonderful. Okay, so I need some good sports out there. All right. So I'm going to practice, hopefully, what we preach about. I'm going to practice, please. I know we're being recorded, but we're going to have random acts of andragogy here. Okay. All right. All right. So if you've got your chat box open, okay, if you got a keyboard, then you're totally qualified. So here's what I need you to do. Okay. Here's what I need you to do. All right. You were a consultant. You were a consultant about 3-4 years ago. Okay. And you're paid to go into a school district adult ed program or community college. And you're about to tell them, let's get a plan to get the majority of your students learning online. This is like 3-4 years ago. And by the way, let's get a plan to teach the majority of your teachers to teach online. Okay, in the chat, how many years of committees and planning and projects and Excel charts? Come on now, somebody be a good sport in the chat. What do you think you would have heard as far as how long it would have taken to put together a plan to get the majority of students at any community college, school district? Come on now, on a scale of 1 year to 10 years. Come on, somebody in the chat, be a good sport, put in the chat, how many years do you think it would take to put a plan together? Okay, somebody's got to put in put in the chat for sure. All right. Am I seeing any results? Are you seeing any results? So somebody's got to put a number. I don't see any results. Is it just me?
Yeah, there's 5, 7, 8, 1.
Oh, I must be seeing a different. Okay, I'm looking at a different chat. Okay, fantastic. What's the largest number?
Looks like 8 right now.
Okay, great. Well, you've nailed it. All right. And now go back in time. How many months did it take you all to go toward the majority of you all as instructors and the majority of your students learning online? Put a number in the chat. How many months did it take, would you say, for the majority of your learners to go online? How many would you say? And because I can't see the chat, Brian, if you'd tell me, or Peg, tell me, what are you seeing?
Yeah, what's happening is some people are doing 2 a person instead of doing the pull down for everyone.
No worries. Okay.
Yeah, so some people are just doing the chats to individual people.
Okay, so the chat setting just needs to be changed to everyone. Okay, fantastic. Well, I think it's amazing. You're right. I was a consultant for a while, and I think I would have heard, well, we can get a 3-year plan together or a 5-year plan together. So congratulations to all of you for really probably getting your learners online in months and getting you up and running and teaching in months. I had a principal that always said the best predictor of what people will do is what people have done. And so I think it is amazing that you made that amazing leap. Okay, now again, in that chat, if you would change that chat setting so that we all see it, if you change that setting to everyone, okay, would you put on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being just a little, 5 being a lot, where were you as far as kind of nervousness or trepidation or whatever, or concern about moving to online teaching? Put that in the chat. And while I'm not a doctor, we do have doctor-patient confidentiality here, okay? So, all right, yes, all right, fantastic. Okay, all right, that's it. You're getting an official Burlington mouse pad, Peg, because you said 500. Okay, you were. All right, so on a scale of 1 to 5, where do you think your students were to learning online, to not going to the building, to doing everything? On a scale of 1 being a little, 5 being a lot, where do you think your students were to learning online? If you had to take a big picture, over generalization. Wow, you are just killing it here. You are just killing it. Now, if a book about 15 years ago was called Good to Great, and they said that the enemy of great is good, I think that's wrong. I think what you've proven is that good can get you to great. Good can get you to great. And you've made amazing steps in about a year's time. So I would ask you, I put this to you, I put a project to you. What is Mercer County Community College's next year? What is 2022? You have to help me write my amazing, hopefully funny, charismatic 10 minutes with you next year, okay? So hopefully I get invited back. So I need your help right now, okay? I need you to put one goal. I need you to put one goal that you think I'm going to be congratulating you on in a year from now, okay? So you went from almost everything probably happening at the building over a year ago to now, almost everything happening online. Give me a goal. Somebody throw out something that's going to happen that is going to be your next step. Might be a personal, might be for your students, for your community college. What do you think? Somebody put in the chat something. Do you think? Yeah, thank you, Brian. That's great. Okay. All right, Sarah. All right. I love it. I love that too, Brian. But yes, boosted attendance, because you don't just have on-site, you also have online. Okay. All right. So that is my project for you all. That is my wish for you all, that when I log off, that moving forward, that you and Peg and all of you work together to come up with what is Robert going to congratulate you on in a year. Okay. Now my time is growing short. And so I want to wrap up in how we do everything oh, by the way, Bernie, I love hybrid. I love high retention. I think those are fantastic. Exactly. I love the expression, let's not, when we return to the building, let's not bounce back, let's bounce forward. And what does that bouncing forward mean? And going back to school doesn't mean going back old school. All right, 30 seconds. I'm going to wrap up here with some project-based learning in 30 seconds. Okay. Most of adult ed nationwide is funded by something called the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. Has anybody ever heard of that? WIOA? Anybody ever heard? Okay, it keeps the lights on, bills paid. That's right. Yeah. All right. So it replaced something that wanted we to be thinking about not just helping our students get jobs, but WIOA wants us to think about helping students get jobs, but then keep them. So right now, let's do some of that with that getting a job. How many of you all, once you got hired on by Mercer County, knew you had a fantastic boss, a fantastic supervisor? By a show of hands, how many of you all knew there was something special in the person supporting you? All right, how many of you? Okay, that's getting the job, all right? All right, so how many of you who raised your hand that you have a wonderful boss, your boss can see you? How many right now? Come on now. How many of you all who responded to that, your boss can see you? Yes. Now you practice not just getting a job.
My camera's off. I can't see.
Not just getting a job. They all had their hand raised. In fact, most of them, they're doing the wave. They have both. They're all standing up doing the Toyota Challenge. So folks, that's project-based learning in a nutshell for you all. I thank you so much to Peg, to all of you at Mercer, to my wonderful colleagues, Barry and Rebecca, and to Brandy. I thank you so much. Back to you, Peg. Appreciate you all.
Robert, thank you so much. What a great way to kick us off today. And just to paraphrase Robert again, positive energy, passion, fun. What better way to open up our day today? Thank you again, Robert. For those of us who came in a little bit after my announcement, a few housekeeping reminders. Please keep your microphones off. Keep your internet cameras off. If you have any questions, please post them in the chat. We'll work to answer them at the end of each session. Today is being recorded, so by joining us, you're giving your consent to be part of the recording. So each of the staff in the Community Education and Training Department chose their own topics. So they're speaking from their direct experience about what they use or how to keep virtual real. They're all speaking on what is their passion. First up is one of our ESL teachers, Miss Bernie Keck. Bernie's topic is total physical response on a screen. Bernie herself is perfect to speak on this topic. She plays volleyball. She's an avid runner, and she loves to dance. In high school, Bernie was a cheerleader, most in shape to share getting students moving on a screen. Bernie Keck. Go ahead, Bernie.
Thank you, Peg. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. I teach ESL in the beginner level, and I'd like to share some of the ways that I get my students to focus and stay engaged in the virtual classroom, especially now since we are in this virtual learning environment. COVID-19 has now changed many things, specifically how we are now teaching our students. Much of our training originally planned for the classroom is now being delivered online. Online learning is now a viable tool for students. Lack of participation may mean that your students are tired, which will affect their learning. My students are beginners in the ESL. I have to work extra hard to capture their interest because the language barrier is strong. Zoom fatigue, it's here. It's a new challenge. The constant screen time can have negative effects on us. Incorporating exercise and movement throughout your virtual classroom session will get the students more focused on learning. I've always used movement strategies in my physical classroom to boost body and brain health, but now more than ever, it's an important element to have successful results and hence happy students. So if we want our students to be thinking and learning more, we need for them to not sit for too long periods of time. How can we engage and keep them actively participating in the virtual classroom? Brain breaks. Here, I have a variety of activities that I use in the classroom to boost learning, verbal memory, to improve alertness, attention, and motivation. We have a 30-second dance party. Sometimes it's a minute. Once everyone is settled and they're cooperative in the classroom, this 30-second dance party works great to break the monotony, to get the students moving, changes the dynamic for a moment. The Macarena. It's international. Everyone recognizes this dance sensation. It struck us all in the 1990s, accompanied by arm movements that you can do while sitting also. I encourage all of you to stand if you want, and you can follow along. This is always a fun one for me, especially with this guy named Max. And you'll see, I got this from Go Noodle, as you see, it's one of the websites.
You mean now, Bernie? Stand up now?
Yes, throughout the whole thing. Yes, there's going to be more.
Greetings, my friends. It is I, Maximo. And do you know what time it is? Yes, yes, you do. It's time for the Max Arena. Hit it.
Do it. Come on, Robert.
Come find me, my name is Macarena. Always at the party, full of tickets, get the winner. Come join me, dance with me, and all your fellows dance along with me.
So, I mean, I hope you got a smile, because that's what we get. We get a lot of smiles. The Macarena is always very popular. Here's another one. The cha-cha, right? So, right foot stomp, left foot stomp. Not only is this a total body movement exercise, students get to learn to express text through movement. They're using tempo, they use rhythm patterns, you know, and it's here, listen. Good wedding song, everybody knows it, right?
Everybody clap your hands. Clap your hands. Clap your hands. All right, now, we're going to do the basic step. To the left. Take it back now, y'all. Unhop this time. Right foot, let's jump. Left foot, let's jump.
See, so it does take,
Real smooth.
it takes about a minute or so to get them used to it, but my students know this, they love it, they know it by heart, and it gets them moving, and you know, most of them do participate. Every Friday, I put on Mufasa. Today's Friday. We love Friday. I try to get the kids, you know, engaged into, you know, this type of music and movement, and this guy gets it going. Every Friday, we look forward to it. As a matter of fact, today, I sent it to them on an email and on my WhatsApp group, because we can't miss Mufasa, and it's Friday, yeah. Listen.
You know we finally here, right? Well, it's Friday then, it's Saturday, Sunday, what? It's Friday again, it's Friday, Sunday, what? It's Friday again, it's
So you get it, right? It's Friday, Mufasa's dancing, you're happy. I play the whole song. At first, I played half of it and they weren't too happy. And I said, no, let me play the whole song. It takes about a minute and a half. It's not that bad. We played in the morning and we played at the end of our session. They love it. Simon Says, right? We use commands to exert physical movement. Simon Says is a classic. It's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. I use it for grammar. I use it for grammar I use it with prepositions. We use Simon Says because it strengthens our auditory processing, our visual processing. You know, you copy me, you listen to me. You can be used for all levels of learning, especially with my very beginners. And some of the Simon Says commands that I like to use, I want to share with you is Simon says to dance the cha-cha. Simon says cry like a baby. Simon says pretend to climb a ladder. Simon says wink with your left eye. All of these commands are reviewed before we do the Simon Says. And we do music videos, sing-alongs, which for most of them are karaoke, right? The twist is very popular. And initially you get some people who are quite shy, but towards the end, everybody starts doing the twist. You can even do it sitting down, right? Another one is these music videos with the words. Stevie Wonder, I just called to say I love you. Melodic, slow enough to get them to memorize and sing along with the song and the words. Let me see if I could play this one, watch. Right? It gives them something to sing, and maybe one day when they hear it on the radio, they'll know the words. Then I give them a hall pass. I allow bathroom and water breaks, even though we have an official break in the middle of our class. But this just allows them just to have like some sort of just like another brain break, right? It gives them, I find that when they return, just moving a little bit and, doing something else, I get greater attention. Scavenger hunts work great, especially in the classroom as well as in the virtual classroom too, because they're in the house and there's more for them to find. So, giving them, things to find that also are textured is another thing that we go through. So I give them a challenge, and I ask them also as a bonus to find an item that begins with each letter of your name. And so the more items they know, the higher the vocabulary gets. And then we meditate. Even though meditation doesn't take much movement, it's very mental and it's very personal. And I find that it relaxes their mind and assists with their focusing on learning. I ask them about their favorite places, and then I find pictures online. I post them when they come into the classroom. I have the picture up, and then I just tell them, good morning. How's everyone doing? Do you like the beach? And then we have these little small talks, just to get ourselves moving. The beach is popular, very popular. I like to use colorful slides. I think this one, especially with head, shoulders, knees, and toes, one of my favorite body parts activities with the students. It just gets them engaged. They like color. It's just something about color. When I use other types of slides are just too boring. This one keeps them moving, and I need the motivation. I need the activation, and it helps them share. Okay, so. To conclude, right, to boost learning, we need to add movement. And, I hope that I was able to at least add to your list of classroom icebreakers and with some brain buster activities today. Thank you so much. Keep moving. Thank you, Peg.
Thanks, Bernie. Absolutely. What can I say? I'm a little bit exhausted from that. So it's just another sample of how to get students up, get them moving. Even though you're on a screen, your instruction doesn't have to be flat. It doesn't have to be one-dimensional. Keep them moving, keep them active, keep them engaged. And what a better way to start off the day with some movement. And Bernie, I have been in her class and I have seen her students moving. They are up and they are moving. From their living rooms, from their kitchen tables, from their kids' bedrooms with the kids in school in the background. She is up, she has them moving, she has them going really hard and really strong. We have about a 5-minute break before our next presentation. So we're just going to close our screens down, but please stay where you are. Our next presentation is going to be about keeping balance in your virtual life. So please be patient. We'll be back at you at 10:30. Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome in, welcome back. My name is Peg Gould. I am the Assistant Director of the Mercer County Community College's Community Education and Training Department. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we get started on our next session, I have a few housekeeping reminders for you. Please keep your microphones on mute. Please keep your internet cameras off. Post any questions that you have in the chat. We'll answer them at the end of each session. Today is being recorded, so by joining us, you understand that you are part of this recording. Each of the staff chose their own topics, so they're speaking from their direct experience about what they use or how to keep virtual real. They're speaking on what is their passion. Our next presenter is Miss Caprice Blackwell, program assistant, data entry, registration coordinator, student point of contact, attendance tracker, proctor. I gave her another assignment yesterday, and her most important job of all, mom. If you've ever felt like you can't juggle another thing, please listen up, pay careful attention to Caprice, who will share some of her insights about balancing it all. Caprice, thank you for sharing.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. All right, I'll be talking about a couple of strategies you can use to get the most out of your workday. Start the day with an open mind and a confident mindset. I'm sure we all have heard about the obstacles faced while working virtually, whether your kid or kids are attending school virtually or you're at home alone with your cats and laptop. Starting your day with a positive mindset will allow you to get the most out of your day. You can start by adding more color to the workspace, making your favorite breakfast/smoothie, or even meditating. Something me and my son do often is make breakfast. He loves cheese eggs, and I make my smoothies the night before so I can have time throughout the week. We shower, brush our teeth, wash our faces, and put on our clothes to keep the feeling of going to school. Keeping up with the routine can relieve extra stress and unnecessary anxiety. If you begin your day with positivity, your day will end with positivity. Begin your day with negativity, you will end your day with negativity. Organization can lead a nation. Organize your emails so there are no confusions. Getting yourself a planner, sticky notes, a tiny calendar, anything you need to help you keep track of your daily tasks/goals. And that's my big, beautiful planner that I have this picture of right here. I have my emails and categories labeled and color-coded so I know what is attendance, my emails with links, and work I must do ASAP. I use my planner to keep track of bills, registrations with our department, and many more. You can also use the calendar on your smartphone so you can set an alarm to be sure you get whatever you have to do done. I use it to keep track of my son's projects, his parent-teacher conferences, and PTA webinars. Being prepared for what is next can help you succeed in many fields. Putting the extra step in your daily life will have you aware of the future and ready to tackle it head on. Remain focused. Staring at a computer all day can make you feel like a zombie. It's okay to walk away and take a little break/breather. A mental break is needed when looking at a computer screen for hours. Stretching always helps me to keep the blood flowing to continue my workday. Take your lunch break and go sit on your porch, or like me, I go outside with my son so he can have recess and I can regather my thoughts to keep it as positive and productive as possible. Read your favorite book or a book that pertains to your job description. The endless possibilities to help you keep your positive energy flowing. I am currently reading many books. The one that pertains to my job is called Who Took My Pen Again? By Secrets from Dynamic Executive Assistant. Sorry. It's a great book and it helps to understand your place as an assistant and to work yourself to your full potential. I'm sorry, I can't even see the top. I can't see the top. How do you, because you know the panel that's at the top? I can't move anything.
I'm not sure, but you're on the most important thing is staying in sync with your boss, Caprice.
Right, the top, I can't see it though. The first
that video
box.
panel. If it's the video box from Zoom, you can slide it over out of the way.
If you hover your mouse, you can drag it down.
Okay.
And it also says it's necessary to be your boss's ambassador.
All right, that's what I was waiting for. I didn't remember the first sentence. Thank you. This is what happens when we work with the computers virtually. So most important is staying in sync with your boss. It is necessary to be your boss's ambassador. An ambassador is someone who speaks up, solves problems, and is determined. The person you want to run your business, be the person you want to run your business one day. You can never go a day without talking to your boss. Think about being future focused every day, thinking further out than what's going on right now. Bringing peace to every situation, taking tasks to relieve the tension bosses experience. Showing you are dependable and eager to work is noticed even when you don't think so. My supervisor and I communicate daily, whether it's on the phone or a quick Zoom call to talk about whatever is necessary at the time. I reach out to see if there's anything I can do to take the load off of her so she can focus on something else important. It doesn't matter if we are in the office or virtual, we are still a team. We all have an end goal to keep our department open and make it better and better as we go. And last but not least, this is some of my experience. So my experience working virtually. To be honest about working virtually, it was terrifying. I felt like what we see in movies are real. I woke up that day to my coworker informing me to sign into my work email. Knowing I couldn't use my phone, I went out and brought a laptop that day. My son was 6 at the time, and they switched to virtual as well. He had his tablet, so luckily I didn't have to buy 2 laptops. My son and I face challenges daily, so I know personally this is not easy. Since kids are home, they eat way more than they should. I always keep fruit and other healthy snacks in the house so we both can snack on healthier foods. We don't want to gain any more weight during the pandemic. At times, he needs help with his classwork, so we sit side by side with our laptops because a mother's job never stops. On occasion, his teacher requests to speak with me, so I'm forced to stop what I'm doing to attend to his school needs. From a person who suffers from anxiety, this was a big change for me. All my work was on my flash drive in my office. Already being off from work when we shut down, I had to start all over and really use my brain to obtain all the information I needed. I always keep in mind that this will not be forever, so I keep a positive outlook on everything. I say all this to conclude, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. I saved money on after-school program costs for my son. I was able to keep my job while, sad to say, thousands of people lost theirs. Saved money on gas, becoming healthier, and reading more books gave me a better outlook on life. Looking at the good will always outweigh the bad. Thank you all for being here and stay safe.
Thank you, Caprice. if staying organized were only that easy, Caprice, I have about 15,000 emails in my email box. So if you could give me some tips, I would really appreciate that. I've tried many
Definitely.
of those things, and in the course of my day, I just don't take the time. So thank you for inspiring us all to really just make a point to take that time and to really just pay attention to what we're doing and stay in the moment, because otherwise the moment is lost and we end up lost and everything. And I should mention to everybody that, like most places where people work, we were told on a Friday that we had to stay home on Monday. And we didn't take a break. We didn't take a few weeks off and regroup ourselves. We left on Friday and we were back up and doing whatever it is we needed to do on Monday morning at or before 9 a.m. And I know my staff, if I said, well, let's go back to that day, March 16th, nobody would really want to go back. Not to say that nobody didn't give their very best, but compared to where everybody is now, it's a complete turnaround. It's a complete change. And I have to hand it to Caprice from being on Monday morning and, oh my goodness, I can't work on my phone because it's not really practical, to, oh, now I have to get a laptop. And oh, wait, I have my son too, and he's young, and how much does he know? And he has a virtual school and I have virtual work. And then, oh no, the college is going to reach through and they're going to want something else. And how am I going to keep it all going? And I can say that Caprice has done an outstanding job in working to make our registrations virtual. So this is something, again, we migrated to virtual registrations over the summer, and Caprice played a big role in getting all of the information up online, knowing what she needed to do to be able to keep track of the students, to put students in the classes, everything. So without her organization and helping the students, the classes, and her section of the office stay organized, things in the department would not be as smooth as they currently are. And so if a student has a positive experience, knows what class to go to, when to go there, that comes directly as a result of her outreach before they even get to a class. So Caprice, I want to say thank you again. If anyone has any questions, remember, please just post them in the chat. So we're going to move on to a different form of reaching students, building your classrooms. The Teach with IT website says a wiki allows a group of people to collaboratively develop a website with no prior knowledge or experience of website design. So how many of you would like to have a way to keep your students engaged online? How many of you would like to have the depth of tech skills to be able to sustain virtual for as long as you need to? Miss Suzanne Edwards is going to show us that building a wiki for your class is not as challenging as it might seem. Please take us there, Suzanne. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Edwards, and I'm with the Career Training Institute, which is an area that falls under PEG's Community Education and Training area. And my briefing involves, as shown, let me share my screen. All right, share. All right, let's see. Success. Isn't that good? All right. All right, slide. All right, from the beginning. All right, it's Wiki in the Classroom, and it's how to put our students in the driver's seat and what's required. Of course, I am Suzanne Edwards. Now, although you may not be familiar with Wiki itself, I can't imagine even a youngster in grade school not being familiar with one of the largest and most famous wikis in the world. And I imagine that rolling through your head, you're sitting there going like, well, what is it? Well, it's Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a form of wiki. And it's probably the most famous resource that a lot of our students have. Now, like Peg talked about, what is Wiki? It's a collaborative online application and allows users to contribute and edit material. So it's like a book. It's a virtual book. And what it does is it's got pages that you can stick in there for different subjects or different areas that you want the students to collaborate on. Now, you can also, if you're on a wiki site, you can actually make it public or private. If you're staying and using the resources within your own, your own, for example, such as Google Classroom and stuff, you can actually make it either public or private. You can always post it afterwards to make it public. And that's going to depend upon the organization and the students in your class, of course. So why do we have Wiki? Well, here it is. It's an open, creative, and collaborative environment, and it puts your students in the driver's seat, which is probably the most important part of this. Student-centered. That means the students take control of it. You are not dictating. You might put the subject or the page or the problem up there, but it's up to the students to actually populate that page. That actually supports adult andragogy with, with different choices, research, different ways of thinking. And this is important. It ties to workplace skills and, of course, to tech. Now, the key words, of course, are open, creative, and collaborative. So some of your shy students who very, very seldom participate in an actual class, you'll find that many of them will participate in a wiki because they are not having to present themselves in life form to their classmates. How does it reinforce 21st century work skills? Here's a big one: collaboration and teamwork. I want to say something about that. When I was in Rutgers in 2004 to 2007 at Rutgers Business School, I got a little bit irate at some of the professors because every business class I took happened to be group project after group project after group project. So I cornered several professors at a meeting one time and asked them, why are you doing this? What benefit are we actually getting out of it? And they said that they had gotten feedback from institutions like big businesses and corporations up around Wall Street, that our Rutgers graduates were absolutely driven, they were intelligent, but guess what? They were not team players. They had spent most of their life, all through high school and stuff, being competitive in an individual manner so that they can obtain a place in a good college or get accolades and awards and stuff. And of course, they happen to continue that. So all this push toward the group work and collaboration and teamwork was Rutgers Business School way of getting people to be team players. And of course, it has a bunch of other advantages too, like it pulls together, shares knowledge. Here's an important one. It mimics teamwork in a business environment. So that's a biggie, biggie, biggie. All right, technology, innovation, creativity. And in this case, you've got a choice of either providing an end product or a continuously evolving product with the wiki. Okay, normally it's collaborative. And here's some of the stuff that you can do with it. You can sit there and read that for yourself. but it can also deal with individual activities. And in this case, an individual can create notebooks, study guides, quick references, and notes. In fact, that's how I end up using both in a collaborative and an individual in my accounting class. And I'll be kind of like talking about that a little bit later. All right, in the HSE and ABE areas, here's just some items that that many of the instructors end up using in those particular areas. And you can see a lot of them are related to research, debates, stories, group problems, examples. Essentially, it's reference and study guides and life guides, hopefully, is what come out of it. ESL, it's the same thing, except you can have situation setups for creating conversations. Like you title the wiki medical. And so one page will be concerned with, for example, interactions with the dentist. Another will be interactions with you going to a pharmacy. Another will be interactions of you going to the doctors, those type of things. And of course, it's a strong way for students to practice their writing skills and their innovation, creating stories and correcting work. Now, before you can plop a wiki in your activities, you're going to have to make some decisions. First of all, the strongest decision you have to make is the wiki activity going to support my POI and my students, or is it just going to be a waste of time and energy of an activity just plopped in there to be an activity? You also need to decide, am I going to use it in a group manner, an individual manner, or both? And is it going to be like a bunch of separate individualized tasks, or is it going to be a task that involves a continuing project? For example, if you're talking about a particular era, you might have one page dealing with economics, with the social concerns of that particular era, and so forth. And guess what? At the end of the students doing this wiki book, they now have something that they can tie together as a group presentation, whether they do an audio, whether they do a slide, whether they do video, that's going to be their choice. But at least they've got the data that they have done as a integrated project each week by week, if you choose to do a continuing project. And of course, you've got to decide whether you're going to go public or private. And are you going to set aside class time for work? If so, and you break out into groups under Zoom or whatever type of video conferencing app that you're going to be using, are you going to let the groups view other people's or other groups' work? Now, a lot of people will draw back and go, oh my God, they're going to copy. No, not necessarily. But what they will do is they will be able to see what somebody else has done and say, you know what? I can do that, and I can do that one step better. So it does provide a way to innovate, although because of our individualistic society, we sit there and go, oh, that's my idea. I want to keep it, and I don't want to let you have it, and I'll let you show it at my final presentation. No, we've got to kind of get out of that mindset, and we've got to get toward collaborative stuff. Okay, now this last one, decide on a wiki site / activity or documents. That deals with some people are not going to be comfortable having an additional site to sign in, and instead they're going to use some tools that they already have in their LMS or in, at the student's disposal. Now, if you do decide to do a wiki site, here are 3 top wiki sites for teachers. All right, notice the middle one is free. They all require passwords. They all require your students to go outside of your LMS and to go onto a separate web page and stuff in order to do what they need to do. So, a lot of us sit there and shake our head and go like, what? Another password, another site to put in our toolbox? Oh my Lord, my students are already spread over 3 and 4 or 5 sites. Now, how in the world are they going to, this is another one where I'm going to be getting messages in the middle of the night sitting there going like, I couldn't finish the assignment because I forgot where the site was. I forgot my password, so on and so on and so on. Okay, there are alternatives. Many of them are embedded in the LMS. For example, Moodle has got a wiki activity, and Blackboard has got a built-in wiki activity. However, if you're one of the many, many people that use Google Classroom, guess what? You can actually create a wiki with Google Docs or using other word processing document type of apps. But what it does do is it does involve you having to take control of those documents and allow certain access. Okay, now for Wiki, that's process oriented. If you're using a wiki site that is a process oriented, that's the big thing, is the process, not the end product, because there is no end product. That site is continuously evolving. Of course, you can go public on those sites. And there are templates and setups in order to help you, become familiar and to use Wiki. However, it does have a particular little few rules of syntax that you do have to master when you set up these documents and stuff for your students. Right. Now, you can use other document type apps. They do give a finished products. And of course, you can take that finished product and you can post that to a web. And that can also be used, put on a student's drive, and they can use it for later reference. If they're studying for their HSE, they can use the tidbits that people have put on there on how to do this type of math problem, that type of math problem. What are the rules here? What are the rules there? In order to prep for their tests. The good thing is they don't have to worry about going to additional sites, using additional passwords. It's part of your normal workings and your normal sites. And Yahoo, the students are familiar with all the apps. However, you need to learn how to set and restrict access so that only the students you want to be able to be grouped for that particular wiki and that particular wiki document get access to that. Now, what I've got here in these next couple screens, these are references that you can go to. I'm not going to click on them because not everybody's got Google. Of course, most everybody does use Google because it's a freebie. Anyway, here's some of the advantage over using a wiki site. You can transfer it. Students already know what it is that they're looking at and how to use it. You can post it or students can retain it, and they don't have to worry about another site and another set of passwords. Okay, under Microsoft, if you ask about Wiki under Microsoft, what they do is they kind of guide you into SharePoint. Now, if you've got Office 365 in your institution, yeah, that's fine, because SharePoint is most probably available to you. However, they don't tell you that you can use a Word document, but here again, just like Google Docs, you can use, you can restrict and make a wiki type of format by restricting parameters and who are going to be able to access and use and view those documents. However, in order to say some good things about SharePoint, it is what a lot of business institutions use. But Word's more familiar to the student. So that's going to be a trade-off that you are going to have to make, based on what your students' requirements and where you know that they're going to be going in their future. Blackboard also has a wiki functionality on it. And of course, by the way, these are all hyperlinked. That's why they look so strange. Anyway, under the Blackboard site, I was really amazed. They have a great deal of information all the way from the get-go. And they also have a real quick 3.5-minute video. Okay,
Suzanne, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's time to segue over into the next presentation. And there is a video of Jennifer's class that I need to show before she gives her presentation. So I apologize to cut you off. However, I thank you for sharing about Wiki. Very interesting and not quite as intimidating as I would have thought it was. So thank you very much. And anyone who's on this, we will be sending PowerPoints and all of that after this presentation. So if I could ask you to unshare your screen, Suzanne, and so that I can share the video for Jennifer's presentation beforehand. Thank you very much. And let me get that here.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth. COVID-19 information. What's happening in the hospital? The coronavirus pandemic continues to spread around the world. This situation is so uncertainly, and especially for medical workers. They can't stay at home. Every day, doctors, nurses, medical, and nurses assistants working really hard. The pediatric room now is COVID-19 emergency room. Medical workers say we need bags, board, gown, gloves, we need ventilators. Now they work irregularly because they needed a lot of personnel. The family member talked to coronavirus patient on the phone and they can have contact with their family. It's no happy situation. And special treatment for coronavirus now is situation. The timetable for coronavirus vaccine is 18 months. Expect say that is tricky. Take
Oh, Stephanie about Chewbacca.
Miss Maria, I want to say something about how to protect your immune system. We are living in very difficult time. Many people have lost their lives due to the coronavirus pandemic. It is very important to strengthen our immune system consuming these foods. I want to show you some lemon, avocado, orange, broccoli, garlic, kiwi, mandarin, and watermelon. Also, green tea ingredients. Green apple, cinnamon, ginger, lemon. Now, green ingredients. Green apple, aloe vera, pineapple, celery, green aloe white, also lemon, baking soda, and water before breakfast. Thank you.
Okay, Jennifer. So our next presenter is Miss Jennifer Klumpen. I apologize. I got too stuck on the video because I didn't stop it so I could still hear it in my background. But Miss Jennifer Klumpen is actually one of our ESL teachers, and she's featured as a contributor on World Education's Transforming Distance Education course. She will share with us using Google to make your class site. Many paths helping students. Thank you, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Peg. Hi, everyone. So we've been teaching our classes fully online since last March, and all of us have been trying to strengthen our connection with our students, strengthen our relationships with them. And so one thing I decided to do was make a website. I'm going to share my screen here. And I was looking for a way to just build a stronger connection to help my students feel connected and part of a learning community. Here we go. Okay, so when I first thought about making a website, I felt pretty intimidated by the idea. I was wondering, how do you make your own website? Do you have to know programming? Do you have to know coding, HTML, computer languages? I certainly felt a bit of cyber phobia, which is the fear of computers and internet. And so I was going to ask you all today, if you could put in the chat box on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you all feel just at the idea of making a website? How intimidating does it feel to you? 1 being not intimidating at all, and 10 being very intimidating. What would you say your feeling is about making your own website? And I'd like to have Peg tell me the answers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Jennifer, people are all over the board. I see everyone from 1 all the way up to 10, but it seems like most people are kind of about 3, 4, 5. So somewhere kind of in the middle. So they're sure, but not too sure.
Great. Well, I read an interesting article from PR Newswire, which is talking about using technology in the workplace. And it said that 68% of people would admit to not trying something new using technology because they thought it was harder than it actually was. And I think that's how I felt in the beginning. It felt very intimidating at the idea of making a website. But I'm happy to tell you that there is no programming involved with Google websites, Google Sites. There is no coding, and it actually ended up being a very simple and easy process. So I'd like to give a shout out to Susan Gare from Katisol. I attended a workshop where she taught about how to use Google Sites. And another shout out to Links, where I heard about the workshop. They have always great support and information for us teachers. So after I took this workshop, I felt pretty confident that I could make a website. So I'm not going to get into the nuts and bolts of how to make a website today, but I'm going to talk to you more about how I use it with my students and what I actually put on the website. If at the end of today you're interested in watching a tutorial about how to make a Google website, I have a couple links here. One is from Teachers Tech, and one is from Pocketful of Primary. And it really is as simple as watching one tutorial, and then you will see how easy it is to make a website using Google Sites. And so what I was thinking is that if you have ever made a PowerPoint, or if you've ever made a Google Slides presentation, it's really very similar in the process of how you make a Google Sites. All you're doing is plugging information into the template that is already there for you. So it's very similar to just making a PowerPoint. So I was very surprised to learn this, and interested in just making my website after that. Okay, so now I'm going to just go right over to my website and show you what it looks like. So I'm going to change my screen share and go right over to my website here. Okay, so I would say it took me about a weekend to get something up and running. It didn't take very long, but you just have to think about, what do you want to have on your website? What kind of information do you want to be on there? So here's my website. Can everyone see it? Is it, the screen share is working? Okay, great. So here's my homepage. And I chose the pictures, the colors, the fonts, the themes. It's very easy to do with Google Sites. So on my homepage, I put general information about our program, registration. I introduce myself, put a picture. I put a link to our program's YouTube channel, and I give a couple examples of student video projects that we've done. You can put contact information and headers and footers that make it look really nice, like a real website. Okay, so this is my homepage here. And then you just start building your tabs. And these are some of the tabs I have built, and I've been adding to it as I go. So the first tab I have is computer skills. In our program, we've just started using something called the North Star Digital Literacy Program. So we're teaching our students basic computer skills. And on this tab, I give them extra practice ideas. A lot of them are very interested in learning their computer skills. And I've had students tell me they really appreciate all these extra practice ideas. And you can just plug in links to different websites for vocabulary. DigitalLearn.org, Crowded Learning has an excellent library of digital resources, and just typing practice ideas, lots of things for computer skills right here. My next tab is my how-to videos. And in this tab, this is where I put short demonstration videos that I make myself. I record myself on Zoom. You could use Loom or Screencastify and make a short 1 or 2 minute video to demonstrate something for your students. And then you can easily plug in a video from YouTube into the Google Sites. So it's easy if you just make your own YouTube channel, throw your videos on there, and then you can link to them right here on your website. So often at the beginning of a session with my students, there's so much to teach them, so much technology they have to learn how to use. They need to learn Zoom. They need to learn Google Classroom. And we also use Burlington English. And now North Star program is a whole separate thing. So I try to make just a short demonstration videos to help my students with all they need to learn to do. And I'll explain it all in class, but then some of them tell me afterwards they forget what I said or they forget the steps. And I've had many students tell me they love these videos because they can go and watch it a few times and remember how to do things like logging in. I put short videos about how to log into Burlington English, how to find the student lessons, how to find their homework, and how to use Google Classroom. Anything that they seem a little confused about, it's very easy to make a short little video just demonstrating how to do it. And this just helps support your students. Okay, my next link is the grammar link, where I just put some extra practice worksheets, a Google Forms about different grammar topics as they come up in class, and I'm still adding to this one here. My YouTube link here is for our student video projects, which Peg showed you a little bit of one of them before. And every session, I try to have the students do a video project where they record themselves. We have different themes that we've done, and students send me their own recorded video. And we have a great tech guy in our department, shout out to Jim, who puts them all in together into these great, like a movie production. It's really fun for them to see their class movie after all of their projects have been submitted. So right here, these are all the final movie products of different projects we've done. And this has been over the course of a year here. So some of these projects were from way early on. And some of these students have been with me this whole time. They've stayed with the program, struggling with online learning, but there are advantages to it. So you get to do fun things like video projects that we hadn't done before. And then they can go back and look at their old projects and see their improvement and how far they've come. So they love to see their own work here and to see their classmates' work. Under the projects tab, this is where I collect the individual videos as they come in. I also have students practice writing out their presentations, trying to encourage more writing in class. So they send in a draft of their writing and then accompany it with their video. And they all love doing these projects. They say they feel very nervous about it, but then they always say they're glad they did it and they would love to do it again. My resources tab, the last one here, is just a list of extra practice ideas. I always have students saying they want more to do, and some of them just have, plenty of time and enthusiasm. And I can link them, point them here to extra practice ideas in all different websites that I can recommend to them. A learner's dictionary that I really like to use, and just extra ideas for them there. So this is my website here, and really the main reason why I'm doing this is just to develop a sense of a learning community for my students. That's the main goal. You can put all of these things in a Google Classroom, but every session I start a new one and I'd have to reload all the links. So this is like your permanent filing cabinet. It's always there. Students can always go to it whenever they want and find things to do and enjoy seeing all their work. Everyone misses seeing each other in person, so this is just another way to help us all feel connected. So thank you very much. Back to you, Peg.
Thank you, Jennifer. I just have a quick question for you. So when we're at your homepage for your Google site, for example, when I look at that, and that is really packed. I mean, you have the tabs across the top, you have the picture, you have the scroll down information, everything. For example, just this page.
Yes.
How long would you say just the page took you?
Well, it does take time. I have to say, once you get into it, you realize it's not so hard. So I enjoyed doing this. I like making things like this. So for me, it was fun to make it, but it does take hours of work to put all this on there. So
okay.
You have to take some time.
And for example, like your picture in the header up at the top.
Oh, that's quick. That's very quick.
And that came from a template. You have X number of pictures to choose from. Okay.
Yep,
if I wanted to add my own picture instead of what's available, is that possible too?
Yes, you can upload your own picture there as well. So I like this one. I chose this one from their stock images.
Absolutely. And it looks great. And the color scheme is great with the green in the different headers and everything on the page. And all in all, are there any problems, challenges, something that your students have encountered on this Google site?
I guess just, reminding them that it's here and using it in class. You have to just keep using it so they remember it's there. And then they forget the link. So just, keeping the link up. I post it in the Google Classroom. I post it on WhatsApp. Just giving them the link over and over again because everybody loses it or forgets it. So you just have to keep reminding them it's there and using it in class, because if you don't really use it, they kind of forget it's there.
And what about you as a teacher? Is it kind of inconvenient at best to say, oh, well, now I have to load something else up on the Google site, or, oh, now I don't, has that become cumbersome for you?
No, not at all. Because once I got the basic information up there, it's very easy to make a quick update. It's very easy. You can see on my screen this little pencil in the corner. So for me, since I'm the owner of the page, I have this little pencil. You click that pencil and it opens up the editing mode. And it's very simple to just type in a changing to the wordings or add a new link. It's just like PowerPoint where you're plugging in a link or plugging in a text box. And it's really very simple and easy to do. So, I've enjoyed working with it, and they love to be able to go there and see their videos and see their work. They enjoy that so much. And in class, someone will say, what's a good dictionary? And I'll say, oh, remember, I have that on the website. I have a recommendation. So I can point them back there. I don't have to go looking through my folders of notes to find what was that dictionary I liked, because I know that I have it right there. So for me, it's helpful. I feel like I know where things are. I know where to go to find information that I need.
And have the students ever made a suggestion about something they would want up there in the room?
Well, registration is one thing, because they're always asking, when is the next registration? And they forget the dates, or they forget the link that they need to use. So putting registration on there regularly is very helpful for them, and just reminding them when the dates of registration are coming up. You know, doing online registration is such a new thing for them, and it's a little stressful. You know, they're always feeling nervous about getting a spot in class. So that's helpful to reassure them that all the information is right here on the website.
And do you ever have students email you or otherwise contact you and say they're not sure how to use this Google Classroom site, this site for you?
I haven't really had a direct question like that. You know, one person asked me, oh, is this always there? You know, they didn't understand. This is like a real website. This is just like any other website. It's always up there on the internet. It's permanent. You know, the Google Sites program, the way they have you choose your domain name, it's a little confusing looking. So sites.google.com, and then view, and then the name of your classroom. So it doesn't automatically look like a regular website link, but it is just a regular website like any other one. That it's always there.
So it kind of reminds me of when I was in art school or art class in like 6th grade or 5th grade, and somebody sitting next to me had this beautiful portrait, and here I am with a stick figure. So that's my tech level of knowledge, is stick figure. And I feel like looking at your site is, you know, looking at this large, beautiful tableau.
Oh, thank you.
Would it be possible that, me knowing nothing, that I go into the Google Sites and I can build something that looks like this without very much tech knowledge myself, or without having to take weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, because I just won't get around to finishing it then?
Yes, well, I felt that way at the beginning of last March, that I didn't know anything about how to use technology in our online classes. And I have to say, over the year, I've learned how to use Google Classroom. I've learned, you know, how to more regularly use PowerPoint and Google Slides, Zoom and Burlington English. So it's been building over the year. And it wasn't until August over last summer that I thought maybe I could try a website. I saw some other teachers using websites, and it just took the one workshop to learn how to do it. And if you just watch one tutorial, I think that would do it for you to feel comfortable that you would know how to do it. It just takes a little time.
My next question is, how long is the tutorial? Because I don't have time in my day for a 6-hour tutorial.
I don't know, probably less than half an hour, I would say.
Wow. So it really is possible, as easy as picking up a website and just plugging in whatever I need to plug in.
Yes, it's that simple. I was so surprised. I thought, oh, a website must be really hard, but it's on Google, it's not.
Wow, that's really great, because that's something that I think I could even do one maybe for the department, is, you know, just leave this, go to the sites, start to build a department one, and be ready to go, maybe even by the end of today, if I were that inclined. It's that easy, right?
It's that easy, at least to get a home page, and then the tabs take some time. You know, adding your tabs takes some time.
That's, you know, it's so encouraging to know that this is fully possible for a non-tech friendly, non-available time person to know that I can pull this together for my students. And not only that, I can set it up today, and I can have it in 2 years ago, you know, or 2 years forward, modified and, you know, updated and everything from what I do today.
I would say most of us have probably made a PowerPoint, right? Most of us have A lot of us probably have made a PowerPoint. It's basically just the same idea, plugging into a template.
Wow. That I can't tell you. That's just, to me, that's astounding, and that's really, really amazing, Jennifer. And although, you make it seem like, oh, I just sat down in like 10 minutes and one weekend, I just, put this all together, and it was just
hours over one weekend. Because once you dig into it, it's, I do enjoy doing this. So, but hours of time to make the whole thing.
That's okay. So I can do a charcoal sketch, and that's enough to get me started. And then I can always add to it and build to it and enhance it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and students love it. They're like, oh, our own website. And, they really enjoy having to see their work published. Look, I'm on a website. It's fun for them.
Exactly. And it only can help to build a community in a virtual environment where people never see each other in person.
Yes, that's what we're all trying to do.
So, and this is why you are featured on World Education's class. So
I was featured as a newbie to technology. They asked someone back in March, who is brand new to technology? And that was me. That was why I was chosen to share. But look how far I've come.
You still, exactly. You still stuck with it. You still put in the steps that you needed to take to be able to get the students to where they are. And for participants in this session, I can let you know that Jennifer is not a full-time teacher. So it's not as if she's available at all hours of the day and everything like that. She's doing this within the confines of her part-time position with the department, which is just even more astounding and more amazing than we see right now. So thank you so much, Jennifer. I can't tell you how inspired I am, how heartened I am that I too can do something like that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me stop my screen share.
Thanks,
guys.
And maybe it was about 5 years ago or so, one of the staff gave our next presenter, Miss Natasha Bullock, a mini telephone as a gift because she was always on the phone, answering questions, helping students, booking appointments. She's going to provide her tips on communication in the electronic world, helping the students and the department to continue to work well together from a distance. Thank you, Natasha.
Thank you, Peg. Welcome, everybody. Today, I will be speaking with you about communication as we transition back to work. Communication is a skill that can help you succeed in all areas of your life. Out of 10 soft skills, communication is the most demanded soft skill, as you can see displayed in the chart. This soft skill will help you get and keep a job. I will give you 5 ways to improve your communication skills. Number 1, be an active listener. Be an active listener. To be an active listener, you must have good eye contact, which will encourage the speaker. Listen without interrupting. Let the person finish talking before you speak, so you can understand everything they're trying to say. Listen to what is being said rather than planning what you will say next. 2, summarize. Summarize what the person is saying so you will not have any miscommunication. Ask questions for clarity. 3, know your audience or the person you are communicating with. For example, my supervisor will send me an email to find headphones to order for our students. She has been my supervisor for over 5 years, so I know her communication style. For this request, I would have to look at 2 to 3 different vendors. I would also make sure the vendors are already in the college system so that they can be paid. The last thing I will do is to get pictures and prices so I can show my supervisor when I'm talking to her about her request. Just from the one request, I will need to do these things when I report back to my supervisor.
Now, Natasha, I'm going to break your communication rule and interrupt right here. So, do you think that the secret to good communication, effective communication, whether it's with your supervisor or with somebody else on the staff, really comes to understanding the unspoken meaning behind the questions or requests for information?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So in other words, when I email you and say, price out some earphones for the students, you understand that I'm looking for 3 different quotes, and I understand that the vendors have to be up in the college portal and all of the technical things that we have to deal with for our administration. But then you also understand at the same time the other things I didn't ask: the price, the usability, will students be able to be effective with them, or anything. You are able to understand all of that.
Yes, I am.
Then
Only because I know your communication
anymore with you.
This is just one example of the type of communication you can have when you already know the way the person communicates. Sometimes it may be hard to predict your audience or the person you are communicating with style. Try to create a message that will be best suited for the situation. 4, organize your thoughts. Try to organize your thoughts before communicating. And 5, speak clearly and confident. Always try to be as clear as you can and be confident on what you are saying. If someone is asking you, how are you doing today? And you answer back, the steak I had last night was good. This is not a clear message. And it will show the person that you are talking to that you're really not paying attention to what they're saying. These are 5 ways you can brush up on your communication skills. Remember, communication is a skill that you cannot afford to be sloppy. Always have good speaking habits and good listening skills. Communication is a skill you always have to brush up on. You can always become a better communicator. Thank you.
Natasha,
Yes.
I have some questions for you.
Okay.
Sometimes, and I'm sure this is only at the Community Education and Training Department of Mercer County Community College in downtown Trenton, New Jersey, that sometimes we have difficult students coming in. Maybe they have a life issue, maybe they have an issue with learning or a bad prior experience, or they're frustrated about testing or unsure of what to register and how to register and all of that.
Yes.
So both in person and online. You know, my thing is, let's just solve this right here and right now. But you have a way of being able to talk a situation down for a student that leaves a student feeling addressed, heard, and feel like someone's going to do something actively for him or her. How do you do that?
What I do is when I communicate, I always think of it, what is it that I will want from someone else? Never leave somebody with a, I don't know. I always give them, even if I have to go to somebody else, give them a number, give them an email. I never leave them with a, I don't know feeling. It's always, I'm gonna try to help you to the best way that I can, or I will get you to that person who will be able to help you.
And how do you find some best effective ways of communicating among the staff is for you? Because you juggle it a lot. You have, Caprice and the rest of the admin team on one side. You have the teachers. You have me as a supervisor and the rest of the, the higher ups over me. And we have the funders, the vendors. Now we throw students in the mix. How do you keep everything kind of addressed and effectively in the know all at the same time online? Because it's all online now.
I just try to be respectful to everyone. I pause, I think, I take a breather before I answer questions. And respect is a big thing with communication.
And now, no one on this really knows, except for me, but you attended the Disney training.
Oh, yes, I did.
So can you tell a little bit about how that, what was that? What was involved in that, and how has that helped you to keep everything together and sharing excellent customer service with people?
I went to a one-day training in Hamilton with Disney and how they make the feeling of when you go to Disney, like you're the most important person there. And that's what I learned from that is with my customer service skills is to make everyone feel that they're the most important person in the room.
So, and how long was that training? One day, you said?
Oh, I'm sorry. It was only one day. It was a one day. It was from 9 to 3.
Okay. And what's something that they shared with you specifically?
Just to always respect and make people feel respected and make them feel magical is what they said. Make it a magical experience is what they told me. Well,
Thank you. I'm going to remind you of that the next time I don't feel so magical.
Okay.
So that's maybe something of your communication style. So I'll have to bring that back to you again. But I thank you for sharing this because if anything, we work probably the most closely together of anybody pretty much in the department. Because you are my department specialist and I rely on you for an awful lot. And if your communication style just is not as stellar as it actually is, I'm not sure that the department would be able to carry forward the reputation that it does carry with the students. Because I can say this to anybody on this, at the end of the day, that's Natasha's. It's all about the students, Peg. It's all about the students. And she has a turn of phrase, now Peg. I don't want to have to ask you this, but this is a situation. So could you please something? But that's part of how she brings individual attention to every single student, every single staff, every single situation for sure. So we have our next presentation is about 5 minutes. So I'm going to take my camera down. I'm going to thank you for holding on for 5 minutes. And our next presentation will be about virtual assessments and virtual testing, but not in the terms of benchmarks and all of that. So I thank you. Give us 5 minutes and we will be right back with you. Okay, everybody, welcome for our next presentation. I just happened to come across this and I thought it would be a good way to open up Kim and Barry's presentation. Because it really speaks to remote testing. If you make a commitment for a week, you might have no trouble faithfully carrying it through. But if you make that same commitment for a year or even 2 years, staying faithful to that commitment becomes a great deal more difficult. So our next presenters are going to speak about the ins and outs of remote testing. So Ms. Kim Aricia and Mr. Barry Pruess are among the greatest proctors of our generation.
That's true.
They are multiple time best-selling authors who've written a seemingly impossible 6 books in the last 5 years. Oh, I'm sorry. That was an introduction for somebody else in a different conference. Sorry about that. Seriously, Kim and Barry know the challenges of remote testing. They're going to give the lighter side of assessments, away from protocols, away from gains, and away from data. Thank you, Barry and Kim.
Peg.
Thank you, Peg.
I thought I didn't know that they found that audition tape of yours from Rona Martin's Laughing.
Oh my goodness.
It was
that
wonderful.
wasn't
Sorry I
me.
didn't get the job.
Not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to share my screen now. Okay. Here we go. And there we go. Okay. Well, hi, everybody. Thanks for coming and joining us today. I am Barry Pruess. I'm a data analyst and certified proctorologist at Mercer County Community College. And my colleague is Kim Aricia. And Jennifer also is one of our proctors. Kim and I will be sharing with you some steps that we take to assure that the remote testing goes smoothly for the students. And we'll also be sharing some of the challenges that we encountered that make remote testing pretty frustrating for the proctors. So we'll start with, here are ABCs of remote testing. Always be testing. Yep. And that's exactly what we have been doing since June 2020, when the CASAS unveiled their solutions for remote testing. Now, why do I put always? Well, it's because on site, we usually test 1 to 40 students, simultaneously. Remotely, we have found that testing 1 student simultaneously is probably the most preferred and efficient method. And since we are testing 1 student at a time, we really do always have to be testing. And but I know that the testing doesn't really go with the C, so always be CASASing. Kim?
Hi, everybody. I'm Kim, and welcome. What does CASAS stand for? It's a comprehensive adult student assessment system. And what that is a web-based testing system that we at the college use to assess our adult learners. We test our students in reading, math, and listening. Students can relate to our test questions because a lot of them have to do with everyday life experiences. As administrators, we appreciate the comprehensive test tracking system. And CASAS is approved and utilized by government agencies, educational institutes, as well as training and technical programs and correctional facilities. For reporting to the National Reporting System, the NRS, CASAS test scores are loaded into the LACES program, from which, at that point, measure skill gains, and they are calculated. Barry?
Okay, so our remote testing falls into 3 steps: scheduled Zoom meeting, prepare the test application, and then administering the test. So arrange with the student directly or through a teacher an agreed upon time to test, which is not always as easy as that sounds. We create a Zoom meeting. We copy the meeting information to an email. We then send that email invitation to the student. Now, these are the topics you make sure that do get onto the email: the topic, the time, the date, and of course, the all-important link to the Zoom meeting. And then you sit back and wait for the student to join. And wait, and wait, and wait, and wait until it's apparent that the student is not going to join. Here's Kim over here, and you can see, even though she turned into a skeleton, she's still very concerned, but she got better. And here's our Jim from Mercer County College. Yeah, sometimes students do not show up for testing, which wastes the time of the proctors who could have been testing other student. Now, that brings us to our first of the two first challenges, commitments and communications. Now, we must be aware that students with limited language skills might have a problem with the communications. And as far as commitments, well, things have changed since COVID, and now students have other commitments. They have more responsibilities to take on. They have family commitments, which are a priority. Work commitments, which they have no control over sometimes. And of course, medical emergencies, which have to be taken care of immediately. But while those are three very valid and reasonable excuses, we also get these. I forgot. My family stopped over by unexpectedly. I fell asleep when I came home from work. I fell asleep at work. I had to walk the dog. And for some reason, my internet went down. And my favorite and the most popular, my laptop is on fire.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. So what the best thing to do is to request a confirmation when you send your email. Put it in big, bold letters, highlighted, so that if you get a confirmation back from the student, you know at least they received your meeting request, and it might remind them if they happen to forget. So schedule the Zoom meeting, create the Zoom meeting, email the invite, request confirmation, and as our neurotic Kim does, send a reminder the night before. Kim?
For preparing the test, CASAS makes it very easy. First, you're going to go into the program and you're going to select which program do you want? Do you want ABE or ESL? Then you're going to select either a pre-test or a pro-test or a post-test. I ended up doing it. Or a pre-test or a post-test, not a, no, okay. In the pre-test, with the pre-test, we use that for our new students. And the post-test is used, of course, for students we've already had. Connect to a testing station. It's either going to go to the proctor's device or the student's device. We'll talk a little bit about that more. Student has to have a valid CASAS ID, okay? You're gonna log into the test application and ensure that that ID is valid. And you also want to assure that the student ID is enabled. Barry?
Thank you. Okay, so then we administer the test. Now at the time of the test, you've joined with the student and the proctor starts a Zoom meeting. The student joins a Zoom meeting. The proctor asks the student to turn on the audio. The student turns on the audio, but is muted. The proctor asks the student to unmute. The student hunts for the unmute button. The proctor asks the student to turn on the video. Student turns on the video, but is still muted. Proctor holds up a diagram showing where the unmute button is. Now, this silly example really brings us to two other challenges, and they are language barriers and tech savviness. Now, it may just be very simple that the student does not have, especially ESL students, they do not have the language skills to understand the technical terms I'm asking them to do for the computer connection. Very possible. And of course, they don't have the computer knowledge to even do simple things like unmuting. And you have to just understand that and be patient with the fact that that's how it is. Now, in addition to taking tests remotely, especially for new students, it's very nerve-wracking. And so you try to calm them down. I tell them I'm here to help them, and it works fine. And when they finally do relax and are able to turn the camera on, you're not exactly sure what you're going to see. You might have somebody who's not sure how close they are to the camera. Somebody who just woke up and apparently fell back asleep. Here's somebody showing me there's nobody on the ceiling that's going to help them with the test. I don't know what the hell was going on here. In addition to that, we have device compatibility. Now, the test can be run on the proctor device or the student device, but that device has to have Windows 10, has to have a camera and a microphone, and it has to have a remote control feature. These are CASAS requirements. And although the preferred device for a student is a desktop or a laptop, students do attempt to test using a Mac, a notebook, or cell phone, which can be more difficult for them and waste time because once I try to get it installed, they say they have a Mac and then it doesn't work. And the last challenge to remote testing that may arise during any kind of testing is interruptions. You have to deal with them, like the internet service went down. Here's a little baby that needs some attention. And who can resist that face? Who can resist this face? Because it's pretty scary and looking like this kid wants dinner right now. Here's a neighbor who came over to complain that somebody keeps interrupting her, even while you're trying to be kind to her and say that you're interrupting me. And the last is, yes, you walk away for a minute and your computer was eaten by your dog. Well, remote testing steps, here they are. And once the setup is complete, though, the testing the student is really easy. They go through it quickly because they know the testing from when they do it at the school. And despite the challenges that occur, it is encouraging to see that the number of students who show resilience and determination by returning to the class in order to achieve their goals and allow Mercer County College to continue to function as a college is just wonderful. It's encouraging to instructors, the proctors, everyone. So that's all we have for you. Stay safe, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you both very much. I have a couple of questions, though.
Can you wait until the entire Zoom meeting is over before you ask questions?
Sure.
Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
When those real life situations come in and somebody's child comes in and it's, not just that they're hungry, which, is an easy enough thing to address, but that maybe somebody's hurt or somebody needs help with virtual learning or whatever, and they're a child. How do you handle that in the middle of a test session?
In the middle of a test session? Well, if something comes up like that, the CASAS application affords an option to suspend the test at that moment. We can pause it for them to take care of it if it's momentary, or if they know they have to leave the test, we can suspend the test. It saves the test exactly where it is they left off at question 12. And when they come back another day, we have to enable the ID, which is what Kim was talking about, making sure the ID is enabled from the suspension, and they pick it up right there. Is that what you meant?
Yeah, that was it. Thank you. And I wonder if you can talk about, and again, this is another situation I know only happens at Community Education and Training Department at James Kearney campus in Trenton. What happens if you wait and you wait and you wait and you get the confirmation, yes, I'll be there, and the student doesn't show at all?
Kim?
Well, then we have to unfortunately reschedule, which is a waste of our time and the potential students that we could be testing. I personally, the next day would reach out to the student via email and just try to reschedule them as soon as possible. A lot of times I forgot. I hear that all the time. I forgot. Even with the confirmation, even if they confirmed they were coming, either they forgot or something got in the way. Life got in the way. They got stuck at work. That's a good one too. Things happen. We just have to roll with it and do the best we can. just rescheduling and stay on top of it. That's the one thing. Don't let it get lost. You have to stay on top of the student. Keep following up with the emails. Fortunately, I have some of the students in class, so they have to see me. So I can get them in class and set something up and just make sure, you know, they reassure that promise of sticking to their commitment.
In addition to that, Kim, I, and Jennifer are being very flexible because, for example, today's Friday, I have to test somebody tonight at 7 p.m. We both tested somebody yesterday at 6 p.m. So we run into students who have work and family commitments, and we are being flexible with them because we want them to test and go on and succeed.
Yes, absolutely.
And they want to do that even though they've put in a full day.
Yes. Yeah, it's been, the flexibility is a good point, Barry. I think that given the fact that we give students the option of testing at 9, 12, 3, or 6, Barry, tonight, 7 o'clock p.m., giving the students the flexibility. Luckily, we can do that with our department because, like Barry was saying, we do have 3 of us. That really helps because I literally have people that are like, I am getting home at 5:30. They have to feed their families, do whatever their commitments are. So yeah, the flexibility is important as well. I was testing a student last night until 9 o'clock last night. We didn't get off of line. I started her around 6. The test was difficult for her. She was struggling, but she got through it and she did very well, by the way. So you have to be flexible. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And as proctors, if you had to narrow down, what is your biggest pet peeve, if it were, when it comes to remote testing?
Barry, you want to go first or you want me to go first?
You can go ahead. You can go ahead.
The only pet peeve I have, I guess, is unfortunately the limitations we have with technology. If you have a student who doesn't have remote control, that means I have to put in all the answers for the student. And instead of me just proctoring and watching the student take the exam and on the side being able to do like my lesson plan for the next day or something, I'm now committed to that test with the student and I have to physically go in and manually add the answers for the student. And that happened twice yesterday. So it's time consuming and it takes away from me being able to multitask. So I would say that that's probably my biggest pet peeve and maybe just the repeated students who don't show up for the testing. That would be probably number 2 as far as pet peeves go with testing.
For me, it's the device compatibility, because if everybody had the same Windows 10 and remote feature, we could then test one to multiple by going into the break rooms on Zoom and setting them up. Right. The problem with that is that we have to set it up on their machine. And we can only do that if they have the same Windows 10 and et cetera. And sometimes I tried to do that a number of times and it turned out the third person had a Mac. So I wasted my time there and I couldn't test them anyway, which is why I test preferably on one-to-one basis, because I know I have it. I can do it. If they don't have remote, again, as Kim said, we have to sit there and put the answers in for them. But again, they're willing to sit there and do it. We're willing to sit there and do it and get them going.
Right.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it speaks to the challenges and the difficulties of remote testing, because it's not just that, you know, even in person, we would think we'd have 15 coming in to test and then we get 12. You know, there's people who miss, but when you're in an online environment, you know, somebody's not there, you know, then what? It's because you don't have 12 other people you can test and one didn't show up. The one who you were testing didn't show up, and it lengthens the time. It's frustrating, it's challenging. Proctoring someone remotely is extremely, extremely challenging, because basically you're just watching one person take a test for the entire length of that amount of test. But I can tell our participants that our assessment team, who have been working and testing remotely for coming up on a year now, have really, really accommodated just about every single student, every single need, every Saturday, Sunday, 9 o'clock at night, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's almost like a virtual around the clock kind of testing, just because we have to get the scores that we have to get first for the students, and they deserve to know where are they coming in at and how are they progressing, but also because of our fundings, that's, you know, we have to give the data and all of that and show the gains and the benchmarks and those kinds of information. But Barry and Kim make an excellent, outstanding team that give the absolute best possible experience to each and every tester, whether it's rescheduling or helping them out to understand their terms, to be able to share the screen and things like that. They work together extremely well, and the students are having as positive of an experience with an assessment. We know how they're test phobic as possible. So thank you, Barry. Thank you, Kim, for your wonderful, humorous presentation. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Kim, can you?
Thank you.
Get off. Kim, when we get off, can you tell me about that protest?
I have the signs made up. They're downstairs,
Great.
so we'll
Okay.
meet up later.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Bye,
Stay
everybody.
safe.
Thank you. Have a good day.
So Miss Esvedi Cornelli facilitates ESL, IET, and a transitions class. She will offer practical, creative strategies for energizing your classes. Not only is she a former NJ All Teacher of the Year, she makes it all look so easy. It's so annoying to me. It's so easy to her. She's a natural. And she has so much fun doing it too. Esvedi, please show us how to energize our classes.
Thank you, Peg. All right, so welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. Today, I'll be sharing with you some activities that I use as a warm-ups or fillers. These kind of activities can make students more attentive and ready to participate, so I hope that you find them useful. So as I said before, right, these activities are perfect to make learning engaging, review or learn something new, encourage participation, invite students to take risks, help students retain information, develop a deep understanding, and create good memories. So how do I do this? At the beginning of my session, I ask my students to complete a survey. I give them different kind of choices, different activities that I would like to do in class. And as you can see here, these are the result of the survey, right? So you can see vocabulary is very high, grammar, pronunciation. So what I do is that I use, the higher ones, and then, I might add some of sometimes I even do the ones where they voted 3% because they had to see what I have to offer. So I give them that. So I change this survey every 2 weeks. I try to make some changes on those choices that I given them. So it might be like I give them, idioms, phrasal verbs, some real or fake, and so on. Yeah, there are many more activities that we can do with this. One of them is growth mindset. Growth mindset is one of my favorites. I love doing this. Growth mindset, right? We're always, as instructors, we're always trying to inspire our students. So growth mindset quotes are a great way to positively impact the students. When students change their attitudes, the words that they say to themselves, right? They keep repeating, I cannot do it, it's difficult. So they begin to change their outcome. So I think, teaching growth mindset quotes is a really good way to inspire students. And at the same time, this is a chance to practice their speaking skills. So some deep thinking as well, right? Another thing, that's one of my activities. So you can also review some vocabulary as well, right? When you say what things grow, right?
trees, plants. So I think this one actually can be, you can use this one for I didn't mention that my level is a high intermediate to advanced, but I think, some of the activities can be modified. Another one that I use is exercise. An exercise break is a very good strategy. After a few minutes of moderate exercise, you can see that the students will feel refreshed, recharged, and ready to learn. This activity could be used for lower level. I guess, you can review some parts of the body. You can see here where I stand up, some commands. Put the right hand across the body to the left knee as you raise it. So you can, review vocabulary. I think with lower level is possible. Practice, right? And then everybody does it. So usually when I do this, right, it says here in the instructions that do it for about 2 minutes, but students wants to keep going. So this is a good, I love doing this. So it's good for them to know what the benefit of this is, right? What's the benefit of doing this activity? So as you can see, right, it reintegrates your brain and nervous system and reorganizes your mind, body, and body connections. So that's great. Another thing that I like to do with them is review vocabulary. That's one of the ones that they voted right at the most. So learning a new word or reviewing reinforce the mastery of the language. So what we do with this activity is I ask students, I sometimes give them some choices, but sometimes I might select the vocabulary from some lessons that we are doing in class, or sometimes just, whichever word I think that I want to use with them. So I give them the definition. You can see there, it doesn't say what part of the speech is, so they had to just to read the definition. Then they get a set of sentences and they have to choose. It says which sentence is incorrect, right? So usually you're looking for something that says which sentence is correct. So you can imagine when they're doing it, right? Sometimes they're reading correct instead of incorrect, right? Is when you get those questions that say the one that doesn't belong or something like that, right? And part of a speech that my students are familiar with this because I'm always, working on that, on noun, verb, adjectives, and adverbs. And at the end, they had to make their own sentence, right? I use the chatbots a lot with this exercise. They send me their sentences in the chatbots. And usually at the end of this, I share, can be 2 or 3 sentences with the students that we can just go over some corrections, right? We all help each other making corrections on that. That's one of the activities that I do. Let me move on. All right, another one is the general knowledge testing, right? I think these are great. They help with concentration. They build confidence. They also help you to retain information. And you can also identify the gaps that you have in your knowledge. So I didn't know that, right? You get that from the students, but I was really surprised. I'm really surprised when I do this, students know a lot. So I think this is a very great way to enhance knowledge and have fun at the same time. When I present this, they send me their answers again individually in the chat box. And then at the end, I can see their answers. They're here. So we go over there, we discuss it. So you can imagine, right? This creates some talking. And then after that, I always like to present them with some facts about it. So that is, we go over the information, everything, every one of the questions that they had. There's some information that I like to, review with them. And the last one is pronunciation. So this is an activity that I do with them. And as you can see, I have the directions of how we present this activity, right? So practice makes perfect. So practice, practice, practice. This kind of sentence might be challenging, but it can be a fun challenge. And I think students enjoy this. So this is one of their favorites too. So what I do is that I read the sentence twice. Then everybody reads the sentences, right? I count 1, 2, 3, everybody goes. It's noisy, everybody's talking. I like to hear them. So I said, you know, you don't have to be muted because I want to hear you. So everybody is unmuted. Then I asked 2 students to read the sentences in pairs. And again, 1, 2, 3, go, and there they go. Then at the end, right, I said, okay, so it's time for voting. Pay attention. We are going to vote for the best pronunciation. And what we do is everybody has to read their own sentence. They read the sentence one by one. And then at the end, we vote. And everybody, you know, send me the name on the chat box, who they want to, who was the best pronunciation. So we get that one, right? Big clap for the winner. So this is like a big competition for them. You know, sometimes they're like, no, I did it, right? It was me. So I think this is a great activity and they enjoy this. So I just, you know, this one is another activity that can be done, you know, at a lower level. It can be done, you know, you can see this one, the difficulty, I had to go very slow with this one. And then this one, you know, it can be done for lower level students. And I know that everybody's gonna get my my presentation. So I hope that you can use these resources over here. I have the quotes, I have some more exercises ideas, some more vocabulary ideas, some more trivia and pronunciation that, you know, you can modify my presentation and you can use, you know, in different ways. So I hope, thank you very much. I hope that you find these activities useful, ready to just grab them and go.
Yes, thank you, Esvedi. I have a question. So in an ESL classroom or the IET classroom, or even in the transitions group, you have people from all over the world, lots of different cultures. Each language kind of has their own pronunciation difficulty. How do you overcome any kind of cultural obstacles or barriers to be able to have students work together to practice their pronunciation?
Well, I usually ask the students, you know, what's the difficulty? Why, you know, what I notice the most is that most of the students don't want to open their mouths. There's something, you know, with that. So I always ask them, you know, how will you say this? You know, how do you have this sound, you know, with the students, right? And then I always ask them, you know, you need to open your mouth. Exercise. Actually, I have some exercises that I use with the students, you know, to exercise their mouth opening. There's something, you know, even though I said, look at me, I'm here in front of you, look, you know, and then okay, one by one, I want to see your mouth, you know. So I think this is something that, you know, it just requires a lot of practice.
And I know Burlington English is used in all of your rooms too.
Oh, yes.
You use the pronunciation voice record feature on that site to help them with their pronunciation.
They enjoy that. Yeah. You know what? One of the things that I when I give them assignment in Burlington English, I always say, I said, if you score 80% in each of the quizzes, you know, I leave it like that, right? 80% of higher, I want to see that. But then, you know, I was asking for too much in that area in pronunciation, because one day one of the students like, I spent like 2 hours and I was just 70%. And I couldn't try it higher. And I said, really? So I said, all right, let's lower it. Let's do a 75%. So your question is very interesting, because just like 2 days ago, one of my students said, I did it for 2 hours too, she said, and my highest was 73%, but they enjoyed this. This one, this is one of their favorite ones, because they get their chance as the opportunity, you know, to repeat and listen to themselves to the pronunciation. Yep.
And that's individualized. So it's not as if they're speaking in front of a class or with a class. Exactly. They're doing that on their own.
Exactly. Yeah. So that can build, you know, confidence.
And do you find that the students support each other readily when they're working, you know, on vocabulary or parts of speech, like you had the, you know, the word and the definition, or in the pronunciation, or even with the trivia or the weekly poll?
They always do. They always do. Actually, you know what? They always ask me at my class, you know, they have created a very good community. And this is something that I'm trying to encourage with my afternoon class. You know, like I said, you know, we all have to help each other. So my morning class, my ESL students, they really help each other. You know, they're always asking me, we have a kind of communication with Remind. So they're always asking me, can I communicate with these students to practice? You know, and I know that they get together, you know, after my class, I know that they get together to practice. So yeah, they have created a good community.
Wow. So it's really like almost being in person, but without the positives of being in person. They're making the best of it.
You know, from the beginning, I'm always telling them, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. That's how you learn, you know, and I think that repetition, you know, and gives them the power, you know, that it's okay. So, you know, I think that, you know, they're getting less afraid of that.
Very nice. And I want to thank you for sharing that information. Esveda, you never fail to leave me amazed when I leave your classroom with what you're doing, whether it's, you know, the students are talking about a job interview, or whether the students are practicing their pronunciation, or it's some kind of interactive game, something. It's always very packed full of information and learning opportunities for the students. And I think your ability to build that community with the students is really directly stems from a lot of these activities. Because you teach at the two most challenging times. Well, I guess there's 3 challenging times, but you teach at 2 of them. First thing in the morning and right after lunch. So you have the ones who haven't gotten energized for the day, and then you have the post-lunch slouch. So very challenging to reach them, very challenging to be able to encourage them and move them forward, as well as keep them engaged and continue. So thank you again very much.
Thank you, Peg.
Okay, so our next presenter is Miss Nawasha Adu, HSE instructor extraordinaire. Teaching is all about building relationships. Teacher to students, students to students, whether it's welcoming her students with her original Powtoon made introduction, or walking them through the Aztec learning platform, bringing them to her Google Classroom, or using Screencastify. Her approach is all about building community with the students. Nawasha, please share with us how it's done.
Welcome, everyone. I'm going to put myself in presentation mode. And just let me know if you can see this one. So,
Nawasha, put it in, put your slide.
I'm talking about.
There you go. Thank you.
Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, I think just had a little delay there. So, I got kicked off of Zoom. Let's start this over. So today, this presentation is just on Screencastify, and I actually really love this app. I found out about it through professional development. So thanks to Peg, I found out about one of my new favorite apps. Before COVID-19, I taught in person most of the time. So we did offer one hybrid option, but I pretty much did that hybrid option in a flipped classroom kind of format. So even though we did have a little bit of online work, I was always able to see the students the next day. So we had a 1 day in person, 1 day from home type of format. So I was always able to connect with them in person. And that goes a long way. When you're doing something partially virtual, if anyone has any questions, they know they're going to see you the next day. Moving to 100% virtual in the beginning was just going to be fun. We were saying that, hey, we're going to have a little vacation. You know, we were in the middle of a session. So our relationship was already pretty solid. The students knew each other. We had already worked together for weeks. So it was really just going to be a 2-week break. And we said, what kinds of things can we do online? I was already pretty familiar with Zoom, so I had my plan. So I thought to be virtual. But the challenge really presented for me when it came around to the following registration periods. So when I did not get a chance to participate in the registration or really do in-person orientations, I realized one of the major elements that I love in instruction is the person-to-person contact. So I just want to ask you, you can drop this in the chat. What are some of the relationship or rapport building challenges that you have had being virtual? One of my challenges was that there was no hands-on orientation. So I couldn't actually, help students complete applications, understand what they were registering for, so many things. There was also no real eye contact. So like Bernie said, Zoom fatigue is real, right? In the classroom, being able to make eye contact, even if a student is not participating, you can take the pulse of the room. So even the person who's way in the back, when they have the confused face, you can tell you need to say something again. You need to maybe go over to them and have some personal, interaction. But there's also no high fives, a lot of the nonverbal communication is gone. Just like some of my colleagues mentioned, you don't get to see all the things that you normally see in the classroom. But another one that was really big for me is the in the moment, on the spot, personal feedback. So, sometimes you're doing class and you have a group conversation, but then especially what I'm going to talk about today is writing, the writing subject. In writing, we typically use a lab and everyone starts writing their essays, but many times, same thing happens. If someone's not typing, I can go sit next to them and help them. And this kind of being able to go from the group to personal feedback was missing in the Zoom format or in this online format. So this was literally me. This is like almost exact footage of me combing the internet, trying to find tutorials that were already done, looking for great content on YouTube, and just a ton of things. So really, I need to be in my pajamas in one of these photos because it really is a lot to do your instruction, but also find great videos that help to personalize things. I think on top of Zoom fatigue, there's a lot of fatigue taking all of your information online. So as Peg said, I do use Google Classroom. It's heavy on the reading. It's heavy on the technical aspect because now instead of hybrid, it's 100% the way you're submitting your assignments is virtual. And even for our in-person class that happened in a lab, there was still a lot of hands-on. So some students used to write their essays because they felt more comfortable doing that and then come to the table, we'd work it out, and then they'd go back and type. Now that doesn't go over so well because photos of handwritten essays are terrible. So I have just spent so much time trying to find content, but I realized through this professional development that it's not as difficult as it seems to become a content creator yourself. So it can seem a little bit intimidating, but like Jennifer said, once you get used to something, you realize that it's easier than you think. So even in looking for screen captures, there are tons of ways to do screen capture. Zoom is a way that you could actually do a presentation yourself or go online yourself and record what you're doing. And that is what I did a few times before Screencastify. I would just say, okay, I'm going to share my screen and I'm doing this presentation really just for myself. And then I'm going to download it. And then I have this little MP4 and then I'm going to upload it and try to show a student what I'm talking about. But Screencastify, I think, is really great because it's free. It's a Chrome extension. So because I'm already using Google Classroom, it makes it very, very, very easy to tie into Google, which most of the students are using, and Google Classroom. So why use Screencastify? Like I said, it's free. If you want to upgrade, you can do unlimited amounts of time. But if you want the free version, you just have to record 5 minutes at a time. But Screencastify really works out amazingly well because you can record your screen, you can record your voice, you can record your webcam, and you can make rewatchable videos. So I don't know about you, but I find that I have to repeat myself even more in a virtual classroom than I do in a regular classroom. And I think that even when you're sharing your screen, like this is how you log in to Aztec, or this is how you access the stream in Google Classroom, someone, as Barry and Kim mentioned, will have been feeding their child, changing a diaper, on a bathroom break, and you don't realize that because you're virtual, right? So when someone leaves your regular classroom, you know when they leave and when they come back, right? When you're in your virtual, not so much. So I think it's really great if you find anything that you have to repeat, like a login strategy or where to find information, using Screencastify and being able to put that in Google is a great option. So you can create your own tutorials for the platforms that you use the most. That was another thing that was really challenging for me, is trying to find videos for platforms that I did already like. Some of them, there's no video for what I really wanted to let my students know. And then what we're going to talk about in this presentation is giving the personalized feedback. So Screencastify is super easy to do. You just have to add the extension to your browser. You decide if you want the free or the paid, and then you just record your first video. They have a great option right here in their For School section where you can go through a tutorial. And that's actually what I did as part of the professional development. It's very easy. It's super user-friendly. They use Teachable, but they explain some of these major points that I'm going to talk about. So creating videos for the students, you can do this. You can create videos if you want to introduce a lesson, which I think is great to do in this kind of like audio visual format, rather than just introduce it with words again on Google Classroom. You can also create the instructional videos. You can create video-based assignments, which we used Flipgrid before for this too, if you're familiar with Flipgrid, that even the students don't have to submit everything in writing. They can record themselves and say, hey, this is my response to the article. This is my response to the activity. This is my response to the video that I watched, and everything doesn't have to be written for them. It gives them a little bit, I actually think it's easier to just turn on the video and say what you felt rather than over critique sometimes your writing, especially as the teacher, when you just want to know how a student is doing, right, with the material. But this is a quick little excerpt of how I give my feedback in the writing class. So this is an essay from just a little while ago. As you can see, it says April 13th. This is the last one that I did. And this is what about 2 minutes of giving feedback looks like. So once it's on your browser, you're just going to click on, it's super user-friendly. There's a countdown that says 3, 2, 1, and then it starts recording. You can record with your video, with your webcam on, or for this one, I recorded without my video, without my webcam, because the most important thing for me was just being able to give verbal feedback. If you've ever done anything on Google Classroom and put in comments, if you have a lot of comments, even if they're great job, or it can kind of become redundant, I feel. So again, for that personalized aspect, I did a video. So I'm just going to play this for a minute. Hey, Jorge, thank you so much for handing in your essay. I really make sure, let me know if you can't hear. Enjoyed reading it. I think you did a great job. So I have a couple suggestions that I think might make the essay just a little bit better. So I'm going to go over those now, and you can let me know what you think. So I'll be making some comments and making some suggestions, so that when you take a look at it, you'll be able to accept the suggestions and just reply back to the comments. So I love how you opened up with a question. How does global warming affect our daily life? For your second sentence, I made a couple of adjustments, but I think you did a really great job opening up with a way that will pique the reader's interest, right? And that's something that we did talk about in how to do the introduction. So it affects us in many resources of our daily necessities of life, to our food production and drinking water, to the increase of ocean water levels and wildfires. So all that I did is really take out a couple of words and then adjust so that you can keep the parallel structure. So if you remember, we talked about when you have a list of things that you want to say, like our food production, drinking water, to the increase of ocean water levels and wildfires, you want to make sure that you present the list in a way that is matching, right? So this is what we talked about with the parallel structure. And I'll add that link so that you can take a look at that again on Chomp Chomp. But what I did is I just took out us in resources, and then I added a from and to so that your sentence maintains that parallel structure. So instead, I suggested it affects many of our daily necessities, from our food production and drinking water to the increase of ocean water levels and wildfires. So let me know what you think about that suggestion. So something that I do, I always make suggestions, even when I'm in the classroom. I don't want to change the students' style of writing. I want them to feel comfortable, and I want them to feel confident in developing their own style. So what I would do if I was in the classroom was I would sit next to someone and we would kind of talk about why I'm making the changes that I'm making. But I found that that was a little cumbersome for myself to make suggestions and then do a whole bunch of private comments. And that's actually what I was doing for the first couple of sessions. It's the most difficult in the writing class because the students were together for the first hour. We break to write an essay and we come back together. So it takes me time to actually get through everyone's essay, and the feedback can't necessarily be live. So for me to be able to create a video and record in my own voice, I think helps maintain a fluid kind of connection. And it also keeps them from taking all the information in that written format again. But the students can also use Screencastify. So it's very easy, again, to add the app. They can do student presentations. They can do reflections, like we said. And what I think is really great is the virtual field trip. So a student can pull up anything online, their favorite restaurant, place where they have been, and they can just talk through it and record it and share it with the class. I think it's also great. I have not used this yet, but I am going to say there was a point in the professional development that talked about using this with your colleagues. And I can definitely see the same way that this kind of cleared up some issues in my writing class, that this would clear up issues in email. So if you've ever had to type an email to a colleague and you're overcorrecting yourself, like, I got to explain this, but then I want to insert Peg knows this. How many times I've sent emails with inserted photos? Like, first it's going to look like this, and then it's going to look like this. But I do think that a video is less cumbersome. So really being able to say, this is how I'm doing this is how I'm accessing it, and just recording it right then. On Screencastify, you can edit if you really want to. So they do have a super intuitive editor where you can cut and trim and insert, just like our phone apps, if you're familiar with any video phone apps. So I think that there's a lot of ways to use Screencastify. It's super easy to learn how to use. It's a Chrome extension, which makes it really accessible to most people. And I think that there's probably something that you do that you could record, right? So something you either do all the time, or something that you think might help make that personal connection by having your voice, and sometimes having your voice and your face and from your webcam. So I just want to ask this as the final question. How will you use Screencastify?
Nawasha, I noticed and many other participants noticed during your presentation, which was wonderful and terrific, you had captions on in the bottom. And I know the other day I mentioned to you, Nawasha, do you know you have the caption feature on? Because it was just, it's not something that's usually on when, you know, you're looking at a video, unless you're doing like a karaoke and it's lyrics on the screen. Can you explain why and how you keep those captions on?
It was an option on PowerPoint, I believe, that when I shared, I left the option on PowerPoint. So now the reason why I do that is because of all of the things that are going on in the classroom. So like Kim and Barry said, someone might need to mute me, but they don't have to walk away from the PowerPoint, right? So for a quick second, if you're picking up the phone or, you know, doing something with your children, that has happened where you might, one of the students need to mute class because of somebody being in their background. But also I found that it's easier. I have students who are sometimes transitioning from ESL class. I have students who are not necessarily transitioning, but coming to get their high school diploma and speaking multiple different languages. I found that I sometimes speak quickly, but being able to read along with what I'm saying just adds another element when you are trying to absorb information. So whether it's that you know, don't understand my accent, or I'm speaking faster, or you're reading along just to help you understand, I think that it's just, it's been beneficial for me to leave it on. So I actually leave it on all the time, but it's an option when I display the PowerPoint. So once I did that one time, I've never taken it off.
And would you happen to know, and this is, you know, you wouldn't necessarily have a reason to know this, but do you know, are the captions available in another language? If I wanted to put everything up in French or in Chinese or in Spanish or another language?
I don't know, actually. I don't even remember. It's been up really since the beginning, but I know that it was an option. I'll find out. I'll add that to the PowerPoint that goes out.
Right, because I would think it maybe wouldn't be. I'm just having this conversation right now, only because if you're speaking in English, it would have to have some kind of AI to understand and then transcribe from what you're saying into another language at the same time.
Yeah, that could be an overall setting that I just have my settings on English, you know, for PowerPoint or for my laptop, you know, but I will look into that and see what I can find to add to the PowerPoint, because I do think it's helpful. It's been helpful, especially as Vedi was saying, we've done some of those kinds of activities also where the students are participating live with the multiple choice. And it does help when someone's reading something, but also reading what I'm saying. Like they said incorrect, or which one of these is false, not which one of these is true. So even for students who only speak English, it's sometimes an adjustment from what you're seeing to what you're actually, you know, reading or understanding.
And it's just another modality too, to be able to reach them with. So thank you, Nawasha. Appreciate it. We hope that you really thoroughly enjoyed today. We will send you a post-conference survey, and we'll send you a recording link as well as the various slideshows to today's presentations. Thank you again for letting us share a part of your day. We hope today you're leaving with a sense of empowerment, energy, and new and fresh ideas. We want you to go forward with the best year ever. Unmute your microphones, and everyone, if you could please just say together, yes, I can. Together.
Yes, I
can. Thank you again. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Nice to see you all. Miss you.
Stay safe.
Miss
you too. Take care.